Okay, on this next exercise, we are going to create really simple robotic arm, and after that we are going to rig it as well and do the small animation. So for the start, if you haven't saved this tentacle scene and you want to keep it, you just go File, Save Scene, and then you will save it. I will save it on the desktop, and this will be tentacle version point 1, and Maya ASCII is the file type what I prefer, and then just save as. And after that I'm pressing File, New Scene, and I get a clean scene for me. And the thing is that we are currently on animation workspace, so I jump up here, up right corner, and select Maya Classic, and then I have my preferred view here again. So for the robotic arm, we are going to create three uh, different basic objects. So we are going to use spheres, then cylinders, and the cubes. For the start, let's go into the side view. So I'm just tapping quickly my spacebar and then jumping to the side X view. And to start with, I'm pressing the spacebar down. So I'm getting my quick menu opened, and then I go to the creation section up here and the polygon primitives, and I'm going to start by creating a cube. Sorry, sphere. Sphere will be the joint for our robotic arm. So next thing what I select here is sphere with the creation window or the options window, and currently the axis divisions are quite high, and height divisions as well. So I will decrease this to 10, and I will keep create UVs checked on, because that will help us later on when we are adjusting our UV map if we have it already uh, divided into the UV shell. Then I press apply, and now I have one sphere here in my scene, and I will press W, and I move this up here, and I can actually close my sphere options window. Then I will press Shift D with my sphere selected, and I will move it downwards, maybe around here, so there will be approximately 4 uh, in between, 4 squares or 4 units in between these spheres. And then I will duplicate polygon sphere 2 once more by pressing Shift D, and again 4 in between. And now I'm doing the tracking selection and selecting all of my spheres, and I want to move them upwards a bit, so there is now 6 units from this 0 level to the first sphere. And the thing what I want to do next is to put these spheres into the same object. Now they are separate objects because we can see them separately here in the outliner. So I have to open my modeling toolkit from up here, and then I select all of my spheres, and come to the combine on top of combining here on the modeling toolkit on the right and press combine. And now we can see that okay, we have only one sphere here which has the icon of geometry, but then three uh, transformation nodes what we don't really need here in the outliner, and we want to clean that history. So I'm pressing edit, delete by type, history, and now we have clean outliner. The next thing what we are going to create are valves, not valves, shafts between these joints here. So the spheres are kind of like joints, and then we need just shafts between these. And the best for the shafts is definitely the cylinder. So I'm pressing down my spacebar and then going edit, create, polygon primitives, and selecting cylinder with options window. And then adjusting the height. Because we know that we have 4 units in between these spheres. I think we can adjust height to be 5, and the radius actually has to be probably something around 0.5. And then the axis divisions, 6 is okay for us, I think. And then create UVs, normalize and preserve aspect ratio on. We press create, and now we have a nice shaft there. And I'm going to move it upwards. So, or before I'm moving this shaft upwards, I'm keeping it here in the origin. And now I'm jumping into perspective view by tapping a spacebar. And before I'm moving this inside of the joints or the spheres, we have here triangles on top of our cylinder, and these triangles are going to be inside of the spheres, so we will never ever see them if we render. So that's why we can remove these triangles. So I'm entering into the edit mode by pressing mouse's right down and selecting here the face. And now by pressing down shift I will select all the faces and press delete. And then I'm actually going underneath it. And then I'm selecting all the triangles from here as well and press delete. Okay, so now we have optimized our geometry a bit because there is no spare triangles on top of it. Then I can jump back into my side view by tapping a spacebar, and I will drag this inside the meshes like this, and then with Shift D I'm going to copy the shaft for this upper part like this. And now I will do dragging selection and select all. And here in the modeling toolkit, I'm going to select combine. Now everything is highlighted green, which means that they are on the same object. And again, we have unnecessary transform nodes here on the left. So I'm going to press edit, delete by type, and history. Next we are doing the hand part, or so-called hand part for the robotic arm, and we are going to start with a cube. So I'm pressing down my spacebar and go to the create section and select polygon primitives cube with options window, and now we have here uh, some custom presets. So I'm going up here into the edit and reset settings, so I get 1 by 1 cube, uh, which is something I prefer. So then I just press create. Uh, Before we start to model our cube, we can actually select this arm part of our robotic arm, and then we can enter into the face mode because we want to delete half of this sphere, or these faces from our arm, because the cube is going to cover part of that, so a little bit optimization as well here. So I'm pressing my mouse right on top of my object down and selecting the face selection, and then doing the tracking selection here and deleting these bottom faces, and then pressing my mouse right down and going back to the object mode. And now I can move my polycube up here. At first I press R and I'm going to scale it on the Z-axis a bit wider, so something like this will be good. And after that I'm going to jump to my perspective view, and I will see, or scale it on the x-axis so it kind of fits to the end of the arm. And I can actually, by pressing W, lift it a bit like this. Next thing what I'm going to create are the joints for the robotic arm, so I'm going to use cylinders over there. So I'm jumping back to the side X, and then I'm pressing my mouse's or spacebar down and going into the creation menu, polygon primitives, cylinder with options window, and actually this time we want to change the radius of our cylinder to be 1 and height to be 3, and we can actually increase the axis divisions to be maybe 10, and axis where we want it to be, I want to change it to X, so it's now going towards us, because we can see from here that the gizmo shows that the axis what is toward to us is X, because we cannot see this stick around here. So X is toward us, and now when I'm pressing apply, it will appear here. And next thing what I'm doing, I will bring it up and then to the left hand side of my scene. Then I can close this polygon cylinder window and tap spacebar and go into perspective view, and there is nice hinge for our robotic arm. After that, I'm going to open this channel box here, and now I can see translations of my cylinder. So I'm going to keep my cylinder selected and press Shift D, or actually I'm not going to press Shift D just yet, because now I'm pressing down, my mouse is right on top of that, and select face selection. And I'm going to select two faces down here, and with the extrusion I'm going to make the fingers, all the fingers for my robotic arm. So I can open my modeling toolkit from up here and then press extrude from down here. I don't really like the extrusion gizmo, so I can just press W, and then with the normal transformation I can bring this down somewhere around here. And then what I want to do as well for this, I want to straighten up this bottom line here. So I can press R and then select this green one, green axis, which is pointing upwards. And then I start to dragging it downwards, not upwards, and it will straighten out my bottom face like this. And then when it's straightened, I will press E, and I want to rotate it on the x-axis like this. And after I have rotated on the x-axis, so around to the 45-degree angle, I'm going to press W and I'm going to extrude it again. So pressing extrude here on my modeling toolkit and then pressing W, because now this extruding gizmo is pointing this way and I really want to pull this new face downwards like this. Because now when I'm selecting this new face here and pressing extrude here, I can complete my hand part of the robotic arm. So I'm going to just pull it around the middle point, not quite there but almost, and then I'm just pressing Q to disable all the tools what I've used for the modeling, and then I'm pressing on top of my mesh, the mouse is right down and selecting object mode. And after this I can open my channel box from up here, and now first of all I see the translation of my P cylinder or the finger part. So with modifying those I can actually turn it to this other side. So this selected, Shift D, and now there is 2 cylinders. And if I type here to the C translation -2 and pressing enter, I can see that it goes to the position exactly on the minus side. But the thing is that I have to still rotate it. So if I type here on the rotation Y, which is the up axis, if I type there 180, hopefully it have turned 180 degrees, and now it's completely at the same spot where the other side is. And to complete this robotic arm, we can actually still add one more object, which is cube. So I'm pressing down the create or spacebar, and then I'm navigating to the create section here, and I'm selecting polygon primitives, cube, and actually I'm creating it without options window, just by eyeballing it. So pressing W, moving this upwards, and then just pressing R, and I'm going to scale it, so this is going to be kind of the point where the robotic arm is connected, or something what reminds it. So with R tool I'm scaling it to be there. Okay. And after that I'm doing tracking selection and selecting all the geometry what I have in my scene. And now I turn on my modeling toolkit and then go to the combining sections here and press combine to get everything onto the same object. And then we can see that we have a bunch of transformation nodes here, and I will delete those, go to edit, delete by type and history. And one last thing before finishing modeling, I'm going to select this P cylinder 6, double clicking it here in the outliner and renaming it correctly, robotic arm GO, and correcting my spelling like that. And now I'm going to save this scene to my desktop.